a medical miracle for humanity. Zombies can actually be cured. In 2009, the world underwent a transformation. Originally deceased humans climbed out of their graves and became mindless zombies. This day is called the Resurrection Day. People, in order to protect their own safety, established volunteer armies and declared war on zombies. The war lasted for 2 years. The authorities developed a kind of medicine. Some zombies could regain their humanity after treatment. As long as they passed the observation period stably in the research institute, they can be allowed to return to human society. This young man is named Gillen. Originally kind and timid, he chose to commit suicide in 2009. Unexpectedly, he became a zombie on the Resurrection Day. He can still often recall some scenes of killing. This fills his heart with guilt, but the doctor tells him, "You are not zombies now, but patients with semi-death syndrome. What happened before is not your fault." At night, Gillen queues up to get on the truck. He has passed the observation period and can return to human society normally, while his parents drive to pick up their son before dawn. The mother's emotions are somewhat difficult to calm. After all, Gillen chose to commit suicide without a word. How painful their hearts were. Until the morning, Gillen wakes up. To return to human society, one must dress no differently from humans. The parents drive for several hours in a row, finally arrive at the destination. The mother's tears keep swirling in her eyes, always imagining the scene of meeting her son. After the son comes out, his appearance is no different from before. Gillen also freezes in place for a moment, looking at the somewhat collapsed mother. He then realizes how irresponsible his suicide was, completely not considering his parents' feelings. The strong father doesn't show his emotions on his face, but his feelings are no less than his wife's. To avoid an awkward scene, he says, "The medical staff tell us to be mentally prepared for your appearance. Now it seems no different from before." Gillen chokes and explains, "This is with foundation and contact lenses, to not seem out of place." Soon, the parents say goodbye to the director and prepare to return to their hometown. The cities have gradually accepted patients with semi-death syndrome, but Gillen's town has not fully accepted it yet. They believe that the essence of semi-death syndrome is zombies. Although the government has established the semi-death syndrome protection law, and also dispatched officials here to promote, and also ensures that these resurrected people will take medicine every day, will not pose a threat to everyone. However, everyone is not appreciative. The person leading the opposition is named Bill. When zombies were rampant, he led the formation of the volunteer army. He can be said to be a hero of the town. His son died in the war while serving in the army. He calls on other volunteer soldiers, kill zombies whenever they are seen.
The question remains, why put the people back in our community that want to destroy it in the first place?
The minister originally wants to say a few more words, but this situation scares him away quickly, and Gillen is also on his way home at this time. When they arrive at the town, the father sees several people coming out ahead. Before he figures out why they are out so early, he quickly tells Gillen to hide, looking at the father's anxiety. Although not understanding why, he still does as told. Then the wife takes off her coat and covers it on her son, because he knows the attitude of the people in the town towards the resurrected. A man comes forward and greets the father. The two can only respond calmly. This person is their neighbor. He offers to take a ride with them, although the father politely refuses. The man directly opens the car door and wants to get in. Fortunately, the woman on the side stops him, saying she has something to talk to him about. This stops him from getting in the car. The two don't dare to stop for a moment and return home. Gillen then understands. It turns out that the situation here is not at all as the father said. Soon a person named Shirley comes to the house. It's the woman who helped them out just now. It turns out that she is already a caregiver for the semi-death syndrome. Only her identity is concealed. The purpose of her coming to Gillen's house is to teach them how to inject medicine to Gillen. At night, the parents have already prepared dinner, but Gillen can no longer eat human food. In order not to spoil the mood, he also pretends to gesture eating. Just then, Gillen's long-awaited sister comes back. She freezes at the first sight of her brother.
I'm not coming in until that disappears.
Because she is a member of the volunteer army. She has also killed too many zombies before. Gillen is a little hurt, chooses to return to the room. The sister then comes to the dining table. It seems that the conflict between the siblings cannot be resolved in a short time. At this time, Gillen flips through the old photos. His eyes are filled with tears. The other person in the photo is his good friend. The relationship between the two is very special. He is also the son of Bill, the leader of the volunteer army. Late at night, the sister, Xiaojie, comes to the room. She still doesn't believe that this is the gentle brother before. Gillen has to tell the little by little of his sister's growth, and also tells the reason for his suicide. It was because Rick left him to join the army. Later, he heard that he died on the battlefield, so Gillen committed suicide quietly. Hearing this, Xiaojia knows that this is her brother. He really came back to life, but she still can't forgive Gillen's selfishness. He committed suicide without considering the feelings of his family at all. Xiaojia ran off by herself to the railroad tracks and drank her booze. At this time, the walkie-talkie rings. Other volunteer soldiers are gathering, saying that a zombie has been found in the dead-end alley. Xiaojia is shocked, because that is exactly the location of her home. Could they have discovered her brother? She hurries back home. Xiaojie returns home and tells the family this news. The parents act immediately. They take out the weapons they have prepared long ago, vowing to protect their children to the death. Even the always gentle mother takes out an electric saw, under the strict request of the father. Xiaojie and Gillen hide on the second floor. Kinship is so great. No matter whether the children are monsters or not, parents will rush to the front without hesitation, having long forgotten fear. Sure enough, the volunteer army's car arrives downstairs soon. The mother holds her breath and gets ready. No one can take her son away. Gillen sees through the window. The one they catch is actually a woman. That is, the neighbor opposite his house. Unexpectedly, she has also come back to life. Her husband was also the one who quarreled the most fiercely in the church before. It turns out that he was just trying to deceive others. Bill points a gun at the woman. The woman keeps begging not to shoot, looking at her face that is no different from a human's. Bill can't bring himself to do it for a moment. Gillen upstairs also breathes a sigh of relief. Her husband is also thanking Bill for not killing her. But Bill is not a merciful person. He asks the woman to take off her contact lenses. The woman has no choice but to do as told. She also thought that as long as she did as Bill asked, she could survive. Bill looks at these eyes. He is too familiar with them. Sure enough, zombies are zombies. No matter how much they disguise, they are ugly. Gillen also watched the scene with sadness. Perhaps he will be the next one. Only the man's heartrending cry is left on the road. Bill drives away. When he returns home, his wife and another officer are already waiting. When zombies rose, the government didn't protect them. Bill doesn't have a good expression for these people, but the wife tells him with tears in her eyes, "They found our son Rick on the battlefield." Bill takes a deep breath.
Found his body, eh?
It's more...
He's alive. They found him alive.
Partially.
He immediately knows. The son has also become the stranger he hates the most. In the eyes of the volunteer army leader Bill, whether zombies have received treatment or not, they are still zombies. As long as they are discovered, there is only one way to die. Looking at the neighbor who was also half dead like himself, made Gillen's mood difficult to calm. And Bill, who just killed the revival people, returned home. His wife told him. It turned out that the son Rick who died in the war had also become a zombie. Now he has received treatment and is ready to return home.
Partially.
This made Bill fall into contemplation. The next day, the volunteer army of the small town held a solemn ceremony, because today is the public memorial day for the victims of the zombie uprising. People remember their compatriots who were killed by zombies. The pastor invited the leader of the volunteer army to speak on stage. Bill is a hero in the small town. Everyone knows that he hates zombies to the core. But today when he came on stage, he did not give a passionate speech. Just told everyone that my son Rick is preparing to come home. Hope you can fully support. Hearing this, everyone in the audience looked at each other. He just killed a revival person last night. Today he wants everyone to support his son's return. Such behavior will undoubtedly make others lose their support for him. Bill didn't stay longer. He took his wife and left in a hurry. People at the scene began to talk one after another. The leader who once led everyone to resist zombies, now there is one in his family. Soon, the military sent Bill's son back. Bill and his wife couldn't hide their excitement, but the volunteer army observing on the side guessed. After seeing his half-dead son, would he shoot him directly? It's ironic to say, in the past, the half-dead patients in the small town had to sneak back, dare not let others discover. But Bill's son came back openly. Rick got out of the car with scars on his face. When getting off the car, he nodded to the volunteer army. Then walked forward and looked at his father. Bill, the strict father, reached out his hand. With his prestige in the town, no one dared to say anything. After Rick came back, he competed in shooting with his father as before. After the training of the army, his marksmanship has surpassed his father. It seems that the half-dead patients are no different from before. But if you think Bill accepts the half-dead patients, you are wrong. He only accepts his own son. And on the other side, Gillen, he had no idea that his good brother Rick had revived. He was asked to stay at home by his father all day. This day, his father went out. He found an opportunity. Put on his father's clothes and hat. Try not to attract attention as much as possible. All the way to his own grave. Looking at the tombstone in front of him, the scene of the revival day emerged in his mind. Just as the memories of the past emerged in his mind, he suddenly found someone talking behind him. Obviously he was discovered. The other person walked towards him. The visitor was a girl.
I know you.
This made Gillen at a loss. Picked up the reinforcing bar next to him for self-defense. Asked the woman not to approach him, but the woman rushed straight towards him. Gillen was confused. He didn't want to kill anyone, but the woman soon laughed. It turned out that she was also a half-dead patient. The two quickly got familiar. The woman's name is Lena. Now she is all alone. Didn't expect to be resurrected after death, but her personality is extremely cheerful. She told Gillen not to care about the eyes of others. Just be yourself. And also took Gillen to the amusement park. Played the carousel together. Went to the haunted house for thrills. This was the happiest time for Gillen recently. But just then, a tourist shouted his name, because he once attended Gillen's funeral. People around all shouting zombies, get out. Gillen fled in a hurry, ran all the way to the wilderness. Even the slogan behind him was "Beware of zombies." But Rick had a different treatment. Because of Bill's relationship, the atmosphere of the small town changed. The volunteer army no longer killed the half-dead patients to the end. The bar where they often gathered also took down the pictures of killing zombies. Half-dead patients can enter here, but it must be in the separate isolation room next to the toilet. After a while, Bill brought Rick to the bar. The scene suddenly quieted down. Everyone was looking at Rick, the half-dead patient. The man who just pasted the slogan came over and asked Rick to go to the isolation room. Bill said, "Why aren't you all talking? Please respect my son." Everyone present knew that Rick was a half-dead patient, but because of Bill's deterrence, they could only turn a blind eye. Soon Rick started chatting with the volunteer army. On the other side, Lena actually found Gillen's home. This time she didn't apply foundation or wear contact lenses, and actively greeted Gillen's parents. The parents were at a loss for words and didn't know how to answer. Gillen, in order to ease the embarrassment, could only pull her into the room. The two have very complementary personalities. They also gradually began to understand each other. Lena actually died of leukemia, and Gillen also stretched out his hands. This was his way of death. Looking at Gillen's arm, Lena hugged him in her arms with heartache, and just then, the sister pushed the door open. She felt she still had to tell him the news that Rick was back. Gillen was very angry. The whole family was keeping it from him, because he committed suicide for Rick at the beginning. The two have a special relationship. He's going to find Rick now, regardless of exposing himself in front of others. And at this time, Rick and the volunteer army were drinking in the bar. The zombie's body could no longer eat human food, but also learn to drink beer like others, and the price was vomiting after drinking. And at this time, Gillen also came to the door of the bar, but he still didn't dare to go in. He was afraid of the strange looks others gave him, even shoot him dead. Lena said, "You dared to commit suicide for Rick. Now you dare not go in when you want to see him. We are the same as others." Only then did Gillen summon up the courage and follow. As soon as they entered the bar, Lena didn't wear makeup or contact lenses, but she wasn't afraid to look at others at all, and ordered drinks with the waiter. Bill saw and was furious. When did a zombie dare to appear in front of him? The manager, in order to avoid conflicts, could only ask them to go to the isolation room in the toilet. This is blatant discrimination. Bill took a deep breath. If his son weren't a zombie, he would definitely kill them at the first moment. As soon as the two came to the isolation room, Rick came out. Both of them were shocked. They both heard that the other was dead, didn't expect to be resurrected and come back. They really wanted to rush over and kiss each other, but because of the occasion, the two just shook hands and said long time no see. Rick heard that they were discriminated against and could only stay in the isolation room. Suddenly became furious. Why do men do this? Finally, in front of Rick, Gillen and Lena were able to sit among the crowd and chat. Just then, a volunteer army rushed out and said he found a zombie. Bill immediately led everyone to prepare to go. Rick quickly asked his father if Gillen could go together.
You do know what we're on it, don't you? Your sort.
Gillen doesn't back down, still follows the volunteer army to the place where zombies are found. Bill and other volunteer soldiers quickly get off the car to search, while Gillen and Rick deliberately stay behind. Seeing them go far away, the two then have a separate space to talk for a while. Perhaps most of the audience have guessed their relationship. They were lovers before they died. When Rick died in the army, Gillen was heartbroken and chose to commit suicide. But unexpectedly, both of them came back to life. While they are talking, Bill urges again on the walkie-talkie. They have to go and meet the others. Gillen quietly comes to a cave alone. This is exactly the place where he and Rick used to date, and also the place where he committed suicide. That zombie actually appears here. Rick also comes and sees the scene below. A little zombie girl also comes out of the cave. Gillen and Rick look at each other. Obviously, the zombies below have developed some intelligence. Rick quickly takes out the walkie-talkie and informs the volunteer army. At this time, the two zombies below also notice their lights. Gillen doesn't understand why to tell the volunteer army. According to Bill's temper, they are likely to be killed. After a while, the zombies are nowhere to be seen, but the volunteer army knows the general direction, starts a comprehensive search, finally finds them in a valley. The man quickly catches them, and then becomes happy quickly. Two zombies handed over to the government for treatment will get a generous bonus. But Bill says to his son, "Do you think they should receive treatment and return to humanity?" Rick looks at his father, then shakes his head and says no, they are disgusting and should be eliminated. Bill nods with satisfaction, asks his son to do it himself to get this honor. Rick doesn't hesitate anymore, takes out the rifle and is about to carry out his father's order. Gillen goes up and stands in front at the first time and says, "They are just zombies who haven't received treatment. Just need to send them to the hospital. Aren't we the same?" Bill keeps urging to shoot at the side. Gillen has to take off his contact lenses. He wants to tell Rick, "I'm the same as them. Do you have to kill me too?" On one side is the urging of the father. On the other side is the obstruction of the lover. Rick is facing a difficult choice. Finally puts down the gun. Bill is greatly disappointed and is about to do it himself. Gillen shouts to the other volunteer soldiers, "These two alive ones can be worth a lot of money. Why don't we kill two birds with one stone? Send them to the government in exchange for the bonus?" In front of money, everyone starts to vote. Obviously, Bill loses completely, coupled with his son's disobedience, makes him lose face very much, because Gillen's behavior angers Bill. He doesn't take him when driving, leaves him directly in the woods. Bill returns home. The wife immediately notices that the atmosphere is somewhat in his eyes, except for the son. Other patients with semi-death syndrome are all zombies, can be killed at will. Then Bill has already dissipated some of his anger at home. Calmly says to his son, after you kill them all, just tell everyone that these zombies attacked us first. We acted in willing. He then says, Gillen is not a human. He is a beast, even worse than a beast. Don't look at the fact that they can walk and talk, but the essence is evil. The wife obviously dare not say much in this family. Then Rick quietly comes to the phone booth on the street. He doesn't dare to disobey his father's will, can only notify Gillen to leave quickly, but no one answers on the other side of the phone. Bill also makes a phone call at this time. He says to the pastor of the town, I want Rick to participate in the activities of the church. He has a glorious task today. We need to give him encouragement. In fact, the activities against patients with semi-death syndrome in the town were instigated by the pastor and Bill. During this activity, the pastor keeps saying some unpleasant words, claiming that these zombies are mixed in our town. They are not like they seem on the surface. They are all liars. Zombies are all white human devils. Will destroy everything we have. Rick is on pins and needles in such an environment, but Bill hopes that after he hears these, it will increase his courage to kill Gillen. When the activity is over, the pastor takes a look at Rick. Then he says to Bill, the first wave of resurrection has ended. When the second time comes, the people who resurrect again will truly become human. At that time, God will select those upright people to resurrect. Obviously Rick is such a person. As long as he dies again, when the second resurrection comes, Rick will truly return. After listening, Bill firmly believes that his decision is correct. Asking his son to kill zombies is doing things for God. In the afternoon, more than 10 women are sitting around in a room. Gillen's mother and Rick's mother are among them. This small gathering is organized by Shirley, the caregiver for semi-death syndrome patients. Their families all have patients with semi-death syndrome. Other people in the town hate semi-death syndrome, but as the families of the resurrected, they don't think so. They talk and shed tears. After all, the dead have come back. Especially Bill's wife also says, I feel that my son is just different in appearance, but in his heart, he is still my handsome little guy. She treasures the return of her son very much. And in his home, Bill is teaching Rick how to kill zombies. He and his son simulate the scene of talking and shaking hands with the resurrected. Rick's movements are smooth, even better than him. This makes him very gratified, but Rick is always somewhat reluctant. Then asks his father to wait for a moment. He comes to the bathroom to calm down. Looking at himself in the mirror, he knows very well the essence of semi-death syndrome. After treatment, their thoughts are already human. After a while, Rick comes out. He wipes off the foundation on his face, and also takes off the contact lenses. When he walks in front of his father, Bill is also stunned. Rick says, I don't want to hurt Gillen. He is my best friend. If Gillen is the embodiment of evil, then so am I. A trace of disappointment flashes across Bill's face, but still shows that he understands his son very much. Then also hugs Rick to comfort him, saying that he won't force him anymore. After a while, Bill starts to pack up his son's things, and also erases the mark of shame of the semi-death syndrome family at home. Gillen is in a daze alone on the bridge, then sees Bill driving past him, doesn't look at him from the beginning to the end. The direction he comes from is exactly his own home. When Gillen returns home, he is stunned. Rick is lying beside his own garage. When he approaches and takes a look, what comes? She returns home at the first time, just wants to see her son every day, because in the 5 years of losing her son, she was really a walking corpse. God gives her a second chance to see her son. Then she asks Bill where Rick is?
Rick? I've seen Rick for 5 years.
What do you mean?
At Manchester Airport when we waved him off.
The wife looks up and sees the wall. The son's memorial photo is displayed again. Could it be that the son's return was really just a dream of her own? At this time, Gillen rushes in with a knife. He loudly accuses the man in front of him. Bill just says calmly, my home doesn't welcome someone like you. Gillen angrily sticks the knife in the sofa. Bill keeps taunting him as an animal, and also says that my son will come back again. Gillen is puzzled, asks him what he means by coming back next time. Bill then says, next resurrection, zombies will riot again. But this time only good zombies can survive. Not someone like you. My son will truly come back next time. Everything will be normal. Bill's wife doesn't understand what they are saying at all. Gillen roars and says, he has all. While saying this, he wants to find his son back, but immediately, the one who shoots is the neighbor opposite Gillen's body. Gillen doesn't stay and leaves here. Only the helpless wife is left in place.
Someone help me. Somebody please help me.
The dispirited Gillen comes to their secret base again. It is also the place where he committed suicide, and his parents are very melancholy at home, very worried that he will commit suicide for the second time. How can parents bear this kind of hurt for the second time? Gillen is alone in the cave, lighting a candle, thinking about the bits and pieces with Rick. His mother finally finds this place. The last time she came here, she found Gillen's body. Also comes here with a triad attitude. She is very worried that her son will have another breakdown. Keeps enlightening Gillen, tells him that you still have your family. Even if you don't wear makeup and look like a zombie, you are still our baby. I understand what it feels like to lose someone. Your father, your sister understands this feeling too. Don't let them lose you again, okay? Gillen suddenly realizes. He said he loves his family, but when did he consider for them? Soon, the mother brings Gillen back home treated by humans. They become semi-death syndrome patients with thoughts, and can return to society and live a normal life. But the thinking of this town is pedantic and the folk customs are fierce. Lena, just because she didn't wear makeup to cover the features of zombies. A man from the volunteer army rushed to her home and committed violence against her, warned her that if she dared to walk in the town without makeup again, he would shoot her directly. Lena looks at herself in the mirror, feels a deep sense of humiliation. Also because of this incident, she decides to leave here and go to the city. She saw on the internet that a person named the Immortal Prophet issued a call, hoping that all semi-death syndrome patients can gather and unite. Lena bids farewell to Gillen, prepares to look for the Immortal Prophet. 18 months later, the neighbor of Gillen who left the town at the beginning, he has now come to live in the city. Two resurrected people come face to face. The grandson curses the word zombie in his mouth, and also says that all classmates call him like this now. The old man immediately stops, tells them that the resurrected are also humans, should not be discriminated against. Then the two wait for the tram. Several men in black also follow closely. When the car is on the way, the men in black start to act. They wipe off the foundation on their faces, then loudly accuse the unfairness of the society. They all join the Immortal Prophet. Semi-death syndrome patients should not be discriminated against. Instead, this is a gift from God. Immediately takes out a small blue medicine bottle, pours out the powder and inhales it. Immediately after, black blood flows out of their mouths. They transform into violent zombies again, madly attack the people in the carriage. In the end, even the old man and the grandson are not spared. The news spreads quickly across the country. Such incidents have occurred several times at present. The contradiction between humans and the resurrected is deeper. Gillen holds the postcard sent to him by Lena and starts to worry, because the address of the sender is the same as in the news. He suspects that this is done by Lena's organization, but the sister tells him that Xiajia is not mentioned in the news. This makes Gillen also relieved. The same changes have occurred in the town in these 18 months. The resurrected are not discriminated against as much as before. The volunteer army is also disbanded. Gillen has found a job in the bar. The landlady praises him highly, and gives him the key to the bar for management. The sister Xiaojie also takes off her military uniform, changes into the school uniform and returns to school. And the pastor still incites everyone to judge the resurrected every day, but different from before. Only a few elderly people are left listening below. This day, a noble rich person comes to the bar. He is the new counselor leader in the town, looks very polite, greets the residents of the town actively, seems to be interested in everything here, but she accidentally touches Gillen's cold hand. That subconscious action and speech does not hide her prejudice against the resurrected at all. Gillen returns home, quickly searches for the information of this woman online. The campaign speech on the internet surprises him. This counselor is from the life-saving party. She thinks that the resurrected are wolves in sheep's clothing. They should all be killed. The feeling of being excluded by society is not good. Gillen already has the idea of leaving this pedantic country. He comes to the cemetery to visit Rick, prepares to talk to him from the bottom of his heart. Unexpectedly, a familiar voice comes from behind at this time. It is the good friend Lena who comes back. Just like before, Lena is lively and cheerful, still doesn't care about others' eyes and doesn't wear makeup. The two chat with each other, talk about what happened in the past year. Lena finds the people of the Immortal Prophet organization, and also has a boyfriend. She advises Gillen not to leave the town. The Immortal Prophet tells them, the resurrected in the town are the first batch, have a special meaning. The two make an appointment to meet at the cemetery again tomorrow. Gillen sees a man sitting on his tombstone in the cemetery. It turns out that this person is Lena's boyfriend Simon. He is one of the 12 disciples of the Immortal Prophet. Invites Gillen to join the Resurrected Liberation Army as soon as he comes. But Gillen himself is a peace-loving person. Naturally can't accept that they create some terrorist incidents. Simon says, atrocities are not one way. In the last tram incident, 13 humans died. But you know someone killed 10 resurrected people, only sentenced to 5 years in prison. Because the judge thinks that patients with semi-death syndrome are only partially human. The Liberation Army just protects us from being hurt. Because no one in this world will speak for us. Gillen can't say anything for a moment after listening. In the afternoon, he works in the bar normally. The man sitting inside and others are mocking again. We humans have no jobs. The bar actually recruits zombies. As a waiter, Gillen can only pretend not to hear. He is already used to such discrimination. At this time, Lena comes to the bar with her boyfriend. They don't wear makeup. People beside them all start to stay away from them. The man shouts to get out if you don't wear makeup. Gillen can't stand their discriminatory behavior. Comes forward and says something fair, but the man wants to start a fight, and also wipes off the foundation on his face. Let him recognize his essence. This time Gillen doesn't back down. Pushes the man to the ground with one push. The enraged man wants to fight back, but is directly choked by Simon. The landlady aims the gun at him indiscriminately. Several people watching the excitement also urge her to shoot quickly, seeing that the scene is gradually getting out of control. Gillen wants to persuade the landlady not to be impulsive, but unexpectedly she directly aims the gun at Gillen. It seems that in her subconscious, she still discriminates against patients with semi-death syndrome, although she usually praises Gillen on the surface. This makes Gillen's heart hurt again, pats the key on the table table with one pat, then turns and leaves the bar. Simon then releases the man. Gillen is fed up with the discrimination around him. Even his parents sometimes mention words like violent zombies, says goodbye to everyone and prepares to go to France. Lena has been waiting at the station early, persuades him not to leave. We will change the environment of the world. But Gillen has made up his mind. Unexpectedly, now the train refuses patients with semi-death syndrome to go out. The two can only sit on the stool helplessly. Immediately after, Phillips comes to pass a message, tells them that they can't leave now. The counselor gathers all the patients with semi-death syndrome. Soon all the patients with semi-death syndrome in the town are gathered. Shows them a video. The main content is to let patients with semi-death syndrome participate in half a year of voluntary labor, make up for the economy they damaged as zombies. This clause is resisted by all the resurrected. Even the counselor tells Gillen that if he doesn't get the reform certificate, the visa can't go anywhere. In fact, all of this is the counselor. Simon is very dissatisfied with these broken rules, especially someone has to hold a stick to watch them. He comes to Gillen's side, greets him actively, seems to approach Gillen deliberately. After a while, Simon gives each of them to scare his classmates, actually took the prohibited drugs. Just a few seconds later, he turned into attracted the attention inside the classroom. They were too familiar with zombies, hurried back into the classroom, watching the zombie break the glass. They looked at Xiajia. Wasn't she a former human volunteer army member? Now it's her time to show. Xiajia had no choice but to go out with a knife. Because of her brother, she now has a shadow over zombies and simply can't bring herself to do it. The zombie approached step by step. Xiajia was so scared that she let her return to normal. But Xiajia's reaction was also seen by other classmates. It seems that the combat hero is just bragging. Soon, this incident attracted the attention of the counselor. The three were called to the office. They had to admit that they just wanted to play a prank, to scare their classmates. This medicine was also bought on the website. After this incident, the counselor felt it necessary to reconstitute the volunteer army, and entrusted this matter to the man to complete. At night, Xiajia sat alone on a bench in a daze. The man drove and found her. The two were once comrades in arms. Under his guidance, Xiajia regained confidence, and was ready to reconstitute the volunteer army with the man. By the way, she also brought her sidearm. The two started patrolling in the woods tonight. Jylan, who returned home, also and was ready to go to that party. When he arrived here, other half-dead syndrome patients were already having a wild party. A skinny guy rushed up and called him. He wanted to talk to Simon. In fact, Simon held this party, and asked everyone to wear shrouds, in order to find out who climbed out of the grave first. This is the task that the undead prophet gave him. When they were talking, the skinny guy already had something to do and wanted to go home. Simon persuaded Jylan not to think too much. We definitely change this world. Then he grabbed Jylan's hand. Xiajie, who was patrolling in the woods, found something. It was a staggering figure. She tried hard to remember what the man told her, and gathered her courage to shoot again. The figure immediately fell to the ground. When she rushed up to check the result, she found out that it was actually the skinny guy in the class who liked her. This was a disaster. Xiajie didn't know what to do for a moment. The man took her back to the town, and told her not to tell this matter, and just act normally. The poor skinny guy was killed just like that. There was still a bracelet for Xiajie beside his hand. After all, Xiajie is just a student, and decided to go to the counselor to confess this matter. Surprisingly, the counselor didn't blame her. Instead, she praised her for contributing to the safety of the village. She just asked Xiajie to take her to see the skinny guy's body. When they came to the woods, they found that the body had already disappeared. Xiajie's face looked even worse. After walking for a while, they found a pile of ashes on the ground. It turned out that the man came here to deal with the body. The counselor doesn't care about these zombies being killed. She only cares if the skinny guy is the first resurrected. But now the body has been buried by the man, and this matter is left unresolved. At night, the man found Xiajie's home. He was worried that Xiajie was feeling bad, so he came to see her. By the way, he began to confess his love to her. He also gave her a bracelet. It was exactly the same bracelet that the skinny guy had. During this period, Simon and Jylan's relationship has been getting better and better. It has even surpassed that of ordinary friends. Unexpectedly, this scene was just seen by Lena. Her good friend was actually having an affair with her boyfriend. This made her somewhat unacceptable. In a state of despondency, she finally accepted Philip. Philip fell in love with Lena at first sight when he first saw her, but he never had a chance. Plus, due to the worldly perspective, the next day after waking up, Lena found that something seemed to be wrong with her body recently. Her hands often trembled uncontrollably, and now she has a strong rejection reaction when injecting drugs. She knows that if she doesn't inject for one day, she will turn into a violent zombie again. Even during the day, she would faint for no reason.
Amy? Amy!
But she still spent a day with Philip with a cheerful attitude. At night, she set up a tent in the suburbs, and wrote a letter to Jylan, because she invited Philip to meet her here. She asked Philip to tie her up, then pick up the awl and end her life at any time. It's almost been a day. If she doesn't inject the drug, she will turn into a violent zombie. It was until 12 o'clock. Lena asked him to stop first, because she found that her face was wet. This is absolutely impossible. The body of a half-dead syndrome patient is like a zombie. There should be no feeling at all. But now, she not only didn't turn into a violent zombie, instead, she had feelings like a human. human. At the same time, the counselor accidentally heard the landlord say that, on the night of the resurrection day, she and her husband happened to witness the entire process. The first person to be resurrected was Lena. It was until early morning. Xiaomei didn't transform either. She even felt cold. The two agreed not to tell anyone about this. Otherwise, she is likely to be caught and used as a guinea pig. Then the two came to the cemetery. Lena's grandmother is buried here. She wanted to introduce Philip to her grandmother. Just at this moment, Lena felt her own heartbeat. It indicates that she is transforming towards a human. Philip also carefully felt it with his hand. This is actually true. Before they could be happy.
Amy Dyer, you are the first and the last.
Philip hurriedly took Lena to the hospital, but unfortunately, it was a step too late. Lena has lost her vital signs. This is really too sad. The resurrection day that the counselor wanted didn't come either. She insanely thought that she had found the wrong person. She called on everyone to help her kill all the half-dead syndrome patients. Ended up getting electrocuted by a man with long hair. This is obviously going crazy. Finally, Lena's funeral was held in the way she liked.
Why was that hard?
The movie doesn't end here. At the end, two people in protective suits took Xiaomei's body away.